kind of like I didn't really care. They were rolling me over multiple different ways, gave me oxygen, and they tried to lay me on my left side. He never liked laying on my left side. So they rolled me to the right side and his heart rate automatically kind of went up. My grandma was freaking out, and whenever all these nurses rushed in, my son's dad was walking down the hallway. He said he ran into the room because, but remember, I don't remember any, I wasn't phased. And all I remember is looking at him, looking at my grandma, and looking at one of my friends, and they all had fear in their face. And I still wasn't phased. And for about a half hour or so, well, actually 10 minutes later, they woke me up and asked me if I still wanted the oxygen. I looked at them, laughed, and said, yeah. I wanted it because I wanted to ignore everyone in the room. I didn't want to hear anyone talking about themselves. Because this wasn't about them. This was about me and a new life. And they only wanted to talk about themselves. And it was hard. So I asked to keep the oxygen, and I went back to sleep. And about 6, I woke up to these terrible pains. My son had officially dropped completely, and my ward in the hospital was managed. I had the nurse back that I had the night I went in. She was there through it all, and my son's dad's mom was in there, and she was there. My grandma was there. And all I kept saying was, it hurts. I shouldn't feel this. And so they said, here's some more medicine. And, well, no, actually my son's son's dad's mom wasn't there. She had went to get him and them two something to eat and brought me back a sweet tea. And so it took about a half hour. They ate in the waiting room because they didn't want to bring it into the hospital room because 1, I couldn't eat it, and 2, the smell would have made me sick. And so my sister was in there, and I think my grandpa was too. And I asked if Evan could come back in here, and they left the room. I went and got him and his mom. I asked for a popsicle and the sweet tea. The tea made me almost throw up. I kept myself from getting sick. Then I asked for water. That almost made me sick. And the popsicle almost made me sick, so I couldn't eat anything, couldn't drink anything an hour and a half before I delivered my son. And I kept saying was it hurts. And so they came in and checked me again, and I was at a 9.5 at 6:30. So remember, at 7 in the morning, I was only at a 1. At around 9 to 10, I was at a 3. 1 or 2, I was at a 6. And then at 6 o'clock, I was at a 9. And then at 6:30, I was at a 9.5. So I was moving really quick. Okay? I pushed for an hour. I wasn't phased. All I wanted was sleep. I didn't even care if I met him. Didn't care if I got a hold of him. all I wanted was him to be okay. And it to be over. I didn't cry when I saw him. Didn't cry when I held him. I didn't smile. I just looked at my son's dad and said, I don't even have to cry because you're gonna do it for me. And my son's dad was there through it all. And all I wanted was water. And my lips were chapped from pushing. And they were so dry that they were cracking. And so, remember, I couldn't feel my arms still. And so the nurse said, get her some chapstick and you can put it on her. I said, here, I can do it. And they laughed at me. Remember, 12 hours after I had the epidural, I was giving birth. And so, they said, you got one more push, every push. And then they said, let's push with the contractions. All I could feel was his head on my bone. It hurt. My doctor is trying to move his head and keep me from tearing. I didn't care if I tore. My son had one big head. I had 2 stitches, and I was so swollen. By the way, guys, I had hemorrhoids from pushing, and I had them before because of the weight on my lower abdomen. Pushing his weight was actually giving me hemorrhoids. So even if I wasn't struggling to go to the bathroom, I got them. And so I doctored them up, and I went on. My sister has them from pushing so hard going to the bathroom that hers might erupt, actually. So, the second day I was in the hospital, not the night I had him, but the night after I had him, one of the nurses is like, how's your hemorrhoids? And I was like, what hemorrhoids? I don't even know if I have any. And she checked, and I had these huge old freaking hemorrhoids. And she's like, they should have been putting medicine on them since the start, because you can't see where to put it. And I was like, obviously, and I'm not going to try to freaking put this medicine where it needs to go. Because, remember, before I had him, I could find the hemorrhoids automatically. Yeah, well, I was so swollen that there was no way I could tell the difference between a hemorrhoid and my body. And so, after the nurses taught me how to take care of the swelling, and taught me how to clean myself and wipe, because after you have a baby, you can't just wipe. You have to dab, or you have to use a warm squeeze bottle to rinse yourself, because I had stitches, so that's what they have to do, and plus you're bleeding really bad and you can get an infection. And so they had to teach me how to do that. They had to teach me how to, they actually told me how to wipe, and they said you have to dab. Well, of course, because you don't want to rip the stitches. Then they taught me how to use this stuff that is for swelling, and now my sister's trying to use it on hemorrhoids. I think it's funny, but it's not for hemorrhoids, guys. And they taught me how to re-put, okay, so they have these weird underwear, okay, and these things freaking swallowed me, but they taught me how to put the pad in and everything, and taught me how to do everything. And then they taught my son's dad too, because I couldn't do it. And then after they realized how swollen I was and how bad my hemorrhoids were, they gave me ice packs. Well, what the heck? I have skin coming off my leg, guys. But they gave me ice packs after they realized how swollen I was. And remember this, I had just given birth and I could not freaking function. And so I was going to the bathroom once or twice during the day, and they got mad at me because I wouldn't get up out of my bed. Well, I could barely freaking stand, guys. But Wednesday night they got my son in there with them. I got up a couple times to go to the bathroom. I didn't ask where my son was. I didn't care where he was, honestly. The nurse came in, and I didn't ask, she came in around midnight, took my IV fluids off, and said, here's some more water, and I said, thank you. And that was the conversation. I didn't ask where my son was or anything. Well, the next day, I was getting so irritated with this IV that I wanted it out. So I said, is there something we can do about is there any way I can get this IV off, because it's really irritating me, and it's pulling on my arm, and it was hurting, and the tape was coming off. And my nurse's assistant, she was like, I think we can take it off now. And so I was like, okay, awesome, thanks. And so she went and got my nurse. My nurse removed it, and I was so happy because, of course, I'm over here like, please get this thing off of me, because it is hurting my arm so bad, and my arm was like getting so sore, like blood was coming out of my IV and everything. But they wanted to double check that I still had enough blood. I didn't need any blood transfusion or anything. I lost quite a bit of blood, though. I'm not even gonna lie. Just delivering. And guys, listen. You're gonna cry pushing. I'm not even joking. And I know I did. And whether my son's dad is gonna tell me this or not, I know I did. Because I could tell by the way my doctor was touching me and wiping me. It was so gross and uncomfortable. Like, I don't ever want someone to do that to me. But that happened. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And so, my son's dad said, I've seen so much from you in the past couple days. Don't ever be awkward with me again. I'm still awkward, by the way.